When Bob and I were talking about the music a couple of days ago, he had two choices that he was flip-flopping between. And he said, I found this one and I don't know if it really fits. And I said, well, it's interesting because a few Wednesdays ago for Elevate, the meditation was, be still and know that I am God. So very, very fitting. Thank you for sharing that. And now, for those of us who've only heard about Sylvia, we've heard Sylvia and have a bit more of a connection with her, so thank you. Okay, so moving right along, I'm going to start with a quote today by Ernest Holmes. There is no sin but a mistake, and no punishment but a consequence. Sin is merely missing the mark. God does not punish sin. As we correct our mistakes, we forgive our own sins. And so what is he really saying here? That we aren't sinners. That sin in and of itself really comes from an archery term where it's missing the mark, where it's like there's a way to do something, there's something to hit, but you're missing it. And when Ernest Holmes or anyone in New Thought is talking about missing the mark, they're thinking about not using our mind consciously, thinking erroneously, okay? And so really, when we think erroneously, then stuff happens that maybe we don't want to happen, and that's why we end up suffering. But it's not because we are born sinners, or it's not because we have this black stain on us or anything like that. It's just that we're not using our minds intentionally, purposefully, consciously, with awareness, like we're fully capable of doing every moment of every day. So today's Easter Sunday, and Easter Sunday is typically the day that comes after 40 days of Lent, 40 days of sacrifice, of giving up things that are near and dear to you, to suffer the way that Jesus suffered on the cross. The way that Jesus suffered on the cross for our sins, okay? But we already know that when it comes to New Thought, that we don't see ourselves as sinners, that there is nothing to sort of, suffer on our behalf for, that whatever suffering happens, we bring unto ourselves. And so in New Thought, we're looking at sin versus consequence. We're looking at choice and personal responsibility and how every single moment is an opportunity to correct or shift our thinking. And we're looking at every moment being a moment of rebirth. Every moment being a moment of renewal. Every single moment being a brand spanking new opportunity to heal, to grow, to expand, to connect, to lean into the truth and the power of who and what we are. Ernest Holmes also writes, life is a blessing or a curse according to the use we make of it. In the long run, no one judges us but ourselves, and no one condemns us but ourselves. So there is no God sitting on a cloud. This is what we teach. There's no God sitting on a cloud, on a throne, or somewhere else outside of us that is casting dispersions, that is judging or weighing in, or like Santa, whether we've been naughty or nice, right? The only thing that is going on is what's happening in our own mind. And just because we think something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. So the work is to remember who we are, to remember that we are infinite, boundless, limitless love, that everyone and everything is this energy and creativity and action expressing all the time. And because we are creativity, because we are this incredible, amazing, dynamic, energetic flow, that there is nothing that we cannot do if we set our minds to it. So the choice is ours. There's no one who can do the thinking for us because there's no other thinker in our head. The only thinker in our mind is us. Now, we've been going through David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, all month. And we're actually going to continue with it next month because we're only about halfway through. We haven't even gotten to the halfway point on his map of consciousness yet. So there's still a lot to rise above there. And so the next chapter that we're looking at is that about desire. And in this chapter, he says that for desire, the underlying quality of it is drivenness. And that when we are at the effect of desire, we are no longer free. That we are controlled by it, run by it, enslaved, and led about the nose by it. It's about wanting to the point of obsession sometimes. It's about how there's never enough, and I want, and I need, and I don't have. That's what desire is all about. And so when I was reading about this, I thought, well, is this something I really want to talk about on Easter Sunday? And then I remembered something at the very beginning of the book that he talks about in the introduction, where he talks about what drives us to keep looking for an answer. When we're suffering, when things aren't going our way, when we're thinking, you know, I know this, I've experienced this, life has been better, and yet. You know, I've read all the books, I've taken the classes, I've gone to the workshops, and yet. And so the suffering, the discontent, the discomfort, the dis-ease, that tends to be what drives us. But that's really not the only thing that is driving us on our spiritual journey or our quest for awareness or expanded awareness. There's something else. And what he says is, intuitively, we know that somewhere there is an ultimate answer. And that somewhere is this world within. Every answer to every question, everything that we could possibly ever require, every resource, every opportunity, all the people, all the connections, all the experiences, all of it already exists within. All of it. And all that is ours to do is to turn within and to realize it. And so there's this quote that came up for me when I read that by Michael Bernard Beckwith. The pain pushes till the vision pulls. Anybody hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what it means is exactly what David Hawkins is saying, that we can keep on sort of being in the brambles, being, you know, in all of these kind of thorny situations with these thorny thoughts and beliefs that we're not even aware of, and not feel great, feel negative, feel angry, feel prideful, feel resentful, guilty, shameful, all the stuff that we've sort of gone through so far, that we have some of which that we haven't even gone to yet, because we don't have what we want. We don't have the life that we want. We don't have the partner that we want. We don't have the job that we want. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough energy. We don't have enough money. We don't have. I want. But with all of that thinking, all of that feeling, keeps coming these ideas of, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve. And so we stay stuck there because it works. Because these thoughts that we have, these beliefs that we're holding on to, they just feed into these negative feelings that we're experiencing. And it works for as long as it works. But ultimately, something shifts. Something, and that shift comes from within. The trigger may feel like it's from the outside, but ultimately, that trigger is happening within. Because it already exists in us. This knowingness, this infinitude, this power, this presence, this profundity that just wants to unleash itself out into the world. It's already there because it's who and what we are. And so that's when we tune into that the vision starts pulling us forward. And the choices that we make, the people that we meet, the experiences that we attract, the opportunities that we lean into are different. They're at a higher frequency. They're at a different vibration than all of those anger-inducing, pain-inducing, the suffering ones down here. So my talk title today is Rising Above. And the rising part is what, sort of came up when I was thinking about Easter and the resurrection and Christ rising from the grave. And as I was driving down the street in Brentwood Bay, that's where Glenn and I live, then I was heading toward the water, and I saw some boats and some buoys on the water, and I was thinking about just sort of, the water rising and being buoyant. But then I thought about balloons, and I thought about hot air balloons, and how when they start out, now it's not in this picture, this is the nicest picture I could find, but there were some pictures that I saw where the balloons were just being blown up, okay? These massive, massive balloons. And they're all like down on the ground and floppy and whatever, and it takes so much work, so much energy, so much intention to inflate them. Because there's the fire, there's the people, making sure that the balloon is actually rising and then stands up, and then there are ropes, they're holding it on the ground, make sure it doesn't fly away too soon. All of that effort, all of that work happening at the beginning, and then the ropes get loosened and the balloon starts to soar. It starts to rise above whatever that hard suffering, hard work going on down here is happening. It starts to move up where it's a little bit clearer. There's not as much going on. There's more freedom to choose to maybe go this way or this way. And it continues to soar higher and higher and higher until the vantage point from the balloon, you sort of look down and you realize, you know what, all that stuff that I was going through, all of those hardships, the negativity, the anger, the pain, the suffering, it's really not that big, you know? Like up here, there's freedom. Up here, there's possibilities. Up here, there's so much space, so much to lean into, so much to embrace, so much to open up to and reach for. Right, Gloria? And so I was looking for a picture that would show all of these balloons that were rising above. You know, even though you don't see anything that's being blown up at the bottom there, you can see how congested it is at the bottom. But as the balloons start rising, there's more space, and eventually, there's just so much room up there, so much freedom. And so in the book, David Hawkins talks about this progression that takes place as we move up this level of consciousness. He says the general progression of levels of consciousness as we go from the lowest to the highest is to move from havingness to doingness to beingness. And so when he's talking about havingness, he's talking about the very, very basic needs. Basically food, water, shelter, clothing, that kind of thing, okay? Just very basic needs being fulfilled. That's having. But once you realize, you know what? Okay, I am taken care of. I have the stuff that I need. Then you can start to let go of needing that kind of stuff. And you can open up to the doing, to the seeing, how can I participate in society? How can I be of service in my community? How can I open up to maybe a greater expression of who and what I am? And the more we open up to that, the more we move into beingness. And once we're at the beingness stage, which is way, way higher on this map of consciousness, then that's less about the doing and definitely not about the having than it is about who and what we truly are. And so instead of focusing on all of this congestion and suffering and hardship down here, we're really much more interested in the vantage point from up here, because this is where the peace and the calm and the serenity and the knowing is. And so that's our work. And it's not always a linear thing, you know, like once you've been here, you're never going to be down here. Sometimes life is a spiral, right? You know, like here we go again. I thought I dealt with this already, but here it is again. But like I've said before, you're not the same you at this level of the spiral that you were down here when you faced the seemingly same issue. You have a much higher expanded awareness, a deeper, richer understanding of who and what you are, and so many more tools and know-how, and probably even community and support to help you to keep rising above whatever it is that has sort of, you know, come onto your path. And then as you keep moving up that spiral and meeting up with those things again and again from time to time, you're just that much more expanded, that much more aware of who and what you are. And those things seem less and less consequential than they did when you were down here going up the spiral. Now, speaking of spirals, Ernest Holmes says, the spiral of life is upward. Evolution carries us forward, not backward. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law. And so when I was thinking of the spiral, I was thinking of something else. And it actually came up in conversation last weekend when Glenn and I were talking after my teacher, Dr. James Mellon's talk on Sunday, when he was talking about having just been at the retreat with all the practitioners and ministers at the Global Truth Center, Los Angeles, and they walked a labyrinth. And I was thinking about the labyrinth and what an incredible way it is to be present, to be intentional, to spiral, if it were, but you know, on level ground, as you put one foot in front of the other, very intentionally and purposefully, and walking into the labyrinth, you let go. Just let go of everything that doesn't belong in this present moment, everything that no longer serves, everything that is not completely in alignment with the wholeness the power, the presence, the profundity that you are at your core. And then once you're in there, you pause, you breathe, and then you turn around. And as you walk out, you open up to the infinite possibilities of who you can become. And so Ernest Holmes also says, back to the beginning, we do not suffer for our sins. We suffer because we sin. So just like going up the spiral, just like walking in the labyrinth, every single moment we are at choice. We are at opportunity to be aware, to be conscious, to be intentional, to be purposeful with our thinking, with our behavior, with our choices. And it's when we're not thinking about it, when we're living life by rote, when we're not paying attention, like I did the other day when I walked out into the parking lot and I fell and twisted my ankle, that's when we suffer. So I'm going to read something by Emma Smiley, but before I do, I wanted to incorporate a little bit of an experiential thing into the experience today. And so the chairs are arranged slightly differently today so that there's a bit of room. And this is because I would like to invite everybody to walk a labyrinth. And so what we're going to do is, Bob, you're going to be the first person. You're going to get up, and then you're going to walk around, and you're going to be the leader. So you're going to create the path. And then everybody just follow Bob, one step at a time, just very meditatively, very consciously. And when you come back around, we're going to pause, close our eyes, breathe, and then pivot, and then go back around. And on your way back, I'm going to invite you to pick up one of the little labyrinth stickers here, so that when you leave today, you have a little labyrinth that you can use yourself at any time. Stick it on your phone, stick it on your laptop, on your favorite journal, whatever. And you can just take your finger and you can trace the labyrinth. And as you go in, you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And then you pause, and then as you come out, you're opening up to what is possible. Okay? So I'm going to invite Bob to stand up, and we're going to do this in silence. Okay? So, yep, and then so a few steps, and then you get up, and then you get up, and just quietly follow around. And you can choose to focus on that. Close your eyes, breathe, let go, and then gently pivot to face in the other direction. You can open your eyes if you need to. And now, Gail, you're at the front of the line, so you create the path. So everybody follow the person in front of you, and Gail is at the front. And now you're opening up to infinite possibilities. Who and what you can become. off, I want to offer a quote by Emma Smiley from her book, Magnificent Assumption. When we know better, we will do better. When we give our devoted attention and integrity to our world within, all problems and difficulties will fade away from our consciousness, and we will experience God. It is the only way that the individual and the world is transformed. But the kicker is, we must first choose to live in this new world. So my question to you today is, are you willing to let go, to overcome, and rise above desire, the I need, I want, I must have, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough, I'm not worthy? Any past sins, or just mistakes and erroneous thinking? And are you willing to learn to give devoted integrity and attention to the world within? The choice, as always, is yours. Thank you, and so it is.